Life could be a dream. Life could be a dream. Do, shaboom.
Hello everybody and welcome to today's fucking Blunder guide. Today I will be showing you how to make a player model for Garry's mod. Okay, so the first step is to give me all your money, Hamasaki bitches. I don't actually want to teach you anything, I just want to take your Rothfly lid bitch.
Alright, so a lot of people have been requesting I make a tutorial on how to make a player model for Garry's mod, for Garry's mod, and because a lot of people on the workshop, they'll make a player model and then they say, you know, don't repost this without my permission, when it's just like a Modern Warfare port. You know, like they didn't do any of the legwork, they didn't make the model, but they still want you to like donate to their Patreon, and they won't make a guide or tell you how to do it. And it's hard to find like servers who are willing to help, who aren't like rambling insane weeaboos or anything like that. So I thought I would make this guide. I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. I thought about deleting all my like applications and re-downloading them before I did this, but I don't think that's going to help a whole lot in the long run. So, well, step number one is you got to have Garry's mod installed. Of course, you got to have all those applications that I showed you at the start of the video. You got to have all those. They're all free, very easy to install. Now we're on the workshop, right? We got to find. Now, whenever I make a player model, the stuff I'm usually looking for is already on the workshop. So right now, I want to make a fucking gorilla player model, okay? So I found this gorilla model. Now, it says it's a player model, but when you load it in-game, I'm going to show you, he doesn't actually move around, really. He's not animated properly, so we need to download. First, this is the model that we're going to use to convert to a player model, so we're going to subscribe to download it. And now what we're going to do is, you know, we're going to look for this player model, subject 106. Yes, I made it. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. It's very good. It's got a very basic skeleton that'll be very useful to work with. So once we gotta download these. I don't know what the fuck is taking so long for. I guess it's a big model. So once we get these, what we have to do is launch the game, because I think that's how it extracts the models. I don't know if this step is 100% required. I just do it every time just in case. Yeah, so it'll show. Yeah, see that down there? It just showed us. So I'm gonna load in real quick. I'll skip this part because it usually takes a while. Okay, now here we are. So as you can see, check this out. The guy, he doesn't even have like arms or anything, or he doesn't move or anything. He's not animated properly. And now, let me look for him. Okay, here we go. Here's the model that we want. See, he moves around. He looks very good. You know, he moves around like a real player model. So this is what we want for our monkey gorilla. Where is he? So this guy, we don't want him to be static. Okay, you get the gist of it. Now what we want to do is we want to close out of Garry's mod because we don't need that really open anymore. We want to go back into the workshop. Go to, no, not this shit, I'm fucking up. Go to the subscribed items. Check this out. You click here. Okay, you want to get to this add-on page and you want to click this. Copy that. Now we go to wherever you have Steam or wherever you have Garry's mod installed. I have it on my D drive because it's pretty big. What we first want to do is go into the Garry's mod folders, go into add-ons. Oh, look, here he is. Okay, so this part's easy. This one's going to be easy. What we want to do, okay, don't drag, hold on, I'm getting too excited. We open up Crowbar. I'm going to show you, don't worry. So right here, you go to Unpack. I don't think packages. Okay, so here we go. I don't think I'm missing anything here. Oh, no. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do this. This part is pretty self-explanatory. If you're going to be working with Garry's mod, you have to set up Garry's mod. You'll find it in the drop-down menu up here. Just type in GA. It'll show up pretty quickly, and then you press Add. Put the name in, its source engine, and then you want to find the folder with the executable, which is typically you go to Steam Apps, Common, Garry's mod, and then bam, you just click the folder and you press open. And it'll do this for each, you have to do this for each thing. I don't know why it needs all these. It needs the game info.txt, needs the model viewer, and so these are all in the bin file. You just got to click on all these. So yeah, just find that stuff, and then your game should be set up. And then you want to put, you know, this Crowbar is pretty easy. It's definitely the easiest application that we'll be working with. It's way better than the nightmare that is Blender. So, okay, don't worry about that. Yeah, so just match your stuff to mine, what it looks like here. And then, now what we do is, okay, we just take the model here that we have, the GMA file, and then you just put it in this. And then you put the work folder, which I just use my desktop. It's much easier. And what you want to do is just click Unpack. See, now it spat out a little folder here on my desktop, and it's got the models and stuff in it. Okay, it's got this stuff, all this whatnot in it, and okay, now we have that one. I'm gonna put this into a separate folder. Put this stuff into a separate folder because I want to use the same decompiled folder for when I decompile my subject 106 model, which is now the second step. What we do here is we're going to want to click this because not every add-on shows up in here in this nice little add-ons folder. Sometimes, I don't know why they did this, sometimes you have to go back to the Steam library where you have Steam apps in your file directory, and you go to the workshop, content, download, content 4000, and now look at this shit. These are the add-ons that you have installed. These are all stored as this number here. I think the most recent one is actually the one at the top, but I like to just copy and paste the number in, and then you backspace all this out. Okay, now I know this is definitely the subject 106 model that I want to use. So we're going to decompile this. Here, let me make a new folder in this actually. And now we're going to unpack this. Alright, so that's all we really need to do with Crowbar for right now. Now, no it isn't. I'm fucking up already. Here we go. Back to Crowbar. We still need this. We're going to make another folder. Decompiled shit, because we have to decompile the each model itself. Models are stored in here. The materials, this is the textures. The Lua file is basically what specifies it as a player model. But anyway, so what we need is this .mdl file. We just want to drag this in here. Don't worry, don't change any of this stuff. It should, you could just match my settings, or they should probably look like this already. And then you just, hold on, let me fix that too. Got to switch this to this new one. Let me make a folder in that. Might as well. Actually, no, I don't need to do that. So yeah, just decompile this. It'll set that up for you. Now we have Gorilla, this epic Gorilla model folder. We don't need this right now. Hold on one sec. Now we want to decompile the other 106 model, which is going to be this one. I like to use this IG one. It's going to be way easier in the long... Oh, I'm fucking up. It's going to be way easier in the long run. So go ahead, decompile that, and that'll show up in here as 106 in game. Okay, now, as I was saying, the whole reason we were doing all that Crowbar decompilation is to get these magical QC files for our 2 models. And with these, we no longer need Crowbar at the moment, so go ahead. Actually, let me close out of that. You don't need this either. So now we can launch the dreaded Blender. I'm just going to come out and say it. Blender is the single least intuitive software I've ever had to use. This application has so many hotkeys, and it's just so complicated. The amount of times I've pressed a combination of buttons and it's tweaked some setting that I have no idea how to change. It's just more so than in any program I think I've ever used. So I'm using this little thing here that will show my button inputs to try and help. I might not vocalize every single thing I do. Now in the viewport, a lot of people get their start in Blender making like models for games. I started in Blender when I made a Elden Ring Monke mod. It was pretty cool, but yeah, so it's gonna be tough, man. This freaking 3D modeling shit, it's really not easy. But anyway, enough about that. Let's just get into it. I mean, the first thing we got to do is get the models in here. Actually, first thing you want to do is save it. So let's save it. I have my little Blender projects thing on the desktop. Let's call him Rilla. Oh, I already have one. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, just save your Blender file here. And first, you just want to import him. Now, if you installed the Source Engine Blender Tools thing, here, let me just show you how to do that real quick. So all you got to do is download it, and then find where you have the zipped file, and then look for it in here. It should show up Blender Source Tools, and then you just click that box. You might have to close out, come back in, and then there you go. All this stuff will show up here. But anyway, we don't need that right. We do need that right now. First, we got to import the model. You come to import over here on the left from File. You go down here to Source Engine QC. You go to the desktop where you have the model. Let's see, where is it? Right here. And you bring it in. You click the QC file. You might be able to, no, just go ahead and stick with the QC file, because I know this is what has the skeleton on it. So we're going to bring them in. They're always really big for some reason. I don't know why. So you can see, you see these weird like polygons here. That's the physics. You don't need that right now, so go ahead and just delete that. And here we go. We have our sexy monkey. Now you'll notice he's just like made of clay. He doesn't have hair or anything. That's because if we had textures for him, we would click this viewport shading thing up here to display the materials, which is the fancy word for textures that Blender uses because it wants to sound smart. Oh, and by the way, I just saw on the left, 3 hotkeys you will absolutely need to use: Control S, Control Z, and Shift Control Z. Control Z undoes your most recent action, and Shift Control Z redoes the action, so it comes back to what you did. Okay. Pretty self-explanatory, very useful. I recommend getting in the habit of doing it because Blender is always trying to mess you up and get rid of your progress. So just constantly be saving. Oh, by the way, another thing you want to do, let me see if I remember how to do this. You want to come up here to Edit and Preferences. Now, come to System. Here we go. You go to System. The default undo steps thing is like some pathetic number. It's like 52 or something. Max that out. I think the maximum, yeah, the max is 256. Okay, it's freaking Blender, okay? It can handle an infinite amount of undo steps. I don't know why it defaults to like that pathetic number. So you're definitely going to want to do that, by the way. That'll help you out a ton. Now, okay, here we go. We have the monkey. Okay, well, that's good. We need him. Go ahead. You also go ahead, clear out the animation data. We don't really need that either. You can delete that. I like to delete that. I'm gonna just rename him real quick because I like to make sure. Go ahead, use all lowercase. Makes things easier in the long run. There we go. Okay, I like to rename all my stuff. I don't know why, I just do. So there we go. We have the monkey in. Now we have to get the 106 file because he will be our reference skeleton model. So bring him in, import him, and there he is. Now you'll notice this looks, hold on, it looks like he's doing a little something strange to it, but anyway, we'll do the same thing with him. Oh my god. Alright, we'll clear the animation data, get rid of his physics, we don't need that. Okay, so here we go. We now have the two models here. Now, as you can see, they're very different from each other. What we can do here is go into pose mode. You see these golf balls here? These are called bones, and they always show up on any model you get from the workshop, and they're what lets you move around the model. So if you press R, it'll let you rotate the model arm or whatever bone you have selected. Yeah, whatever bone you have selected. So that's very helpful. And another thing you could do is if you click a bone and you double click R, you can like move it in a different way. I don't know how to explain it, but you can do that too. So there we go. What we want to do is position the monkey so that he kind of lines up with the with our reference model. So you can scale models as well. Hold on, where's his like? I don't think he even has one. Oh yeah, he does. Usually the pelvis is like the or not. Anyway, all right. Hold on, I have to think about some shit here. Alright, so there we go. The basic idea is to overlap the model you want to turn into a player model as much as possible with your reference model, because what we're going to do is what we're going to do is transfer the working skeleton from the reference model, which is the 106 model right here, onto the epic gorilla. So, or whatever model you're working with. So now, but before we do that, we have to delete the skeleton. Now watch this. Uh-oh, look at that. Thank you very much, Blender. Always trying to mess us up. But don't worry, I got a fix for this. Here, what you do is, you go up here to Rilla, you come up here to this, you click the wrench, armature. Okay, don't worry about any of the scary words. Okay, so yeah, you duplicate it, and then this happens. Don't worry about it. I know, it looks horrifying. You just click apply. Now you come down here to the skeleton. Don't worry, don't look at it. And you come here, you press A to select everything. You go to pose, apply pose as rest pose. And then there you go. Okay, now we have our model. Now, okay, one sec actually. I wanna make him look a little bit happier here. Okay, so now, here we go. We got our gorilla looking very nice and pleased. Here, let me get rid of these golf balls so we can look at his beautiful face. There we go. He's so happy. Okay, now, what we're going to do now is simply... Oh, I can't delete it. Just go ahead, delete the skeleton. Unbelievable. Delete the skeleton. Okay, we don't need that anymore. By the way, when you're doing this stuff... whenever you're working with stuff over here, you usually have to be in object mode for anything to work. So you gotta like select select things and go into object mode here. You know what? Go ahead and just delete all of this stuff. Delete all of this. It's been pissing me off. We don't need any of this. Okay, we're not doing an animation. We're not doing. Just delete it. It's too scary looking. It's annoying and it's worthless. All you need is layout right here. You don't need textures because textures aren't stored on the MDL file, and Blender makes it way too hard to put textures on these models anyway. Okay, so don't worry about it. Just delete all that stuff so you only have the layout and it's not spooking you. All right, so now we've deleted our skeleton. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna click on our Rilla and we go down here to this vertex group thing. These are all the bones that it used to have. We don't need these anymore. So what we're gonna do is click this little arrow here, delete all groups. Okay, there you go. So now, I'm gonna delete these collections real quick. So now here we go. We have 106's skeleton right here, and we have our Rilla model. What we need to do is click the 106 reference skeleton, and now you shift click the Rilla, you press Control P, and do automatic weights. Okay, now let's test it out. Now what should happen is the monkey will move with the model. Okay, albeit in a very poorly done way. As you can see, it looks really bad and stupid, and his head moves as well with the arm, even though if you hide it, you know, it should move like this, should move normally. So well, I guess that doesn't move. So anyway, it should move normally, but it doesn't because it's a freaking gorilla and the model doesn't really line up that well with it. But I'm gonna tell you what else we can do. Now that we've parented the model, I'm gonna show you this little trick that sometimes helps. It helps more if you're using a model that actually looks like a human and not a freaking giant gorilla, but this might assist us regardless. So what we do here, you go to Rilla again, you delete the vertex groups again. Why did that move the fingers? I swear to God, I hate Blunder. Okay, don't worry about that. Go to Rilla, delete all the vertex groups again. Now, what we do here is we go into weight paint mode. Did I fuck up the order? Oh yes, no I didn't. You go to weight paint mode, you select Rilla over here, and then you go shift click on the 106 model, not the skeleton, the model over here. And you come up here to weights, transfer weights. Let's say transfer mesh data here. Okay, just ignore all that stuff. You might be able to tweak the settings here a little bit. I don't even know what any of that crap means. But the big thing here is you can see it only transferred one weight. Each weight corresponds to a bone in the skeleton, and we want all of them, not just the left clavicle. So what we do is we go to active layer and change this to by name. And there you go. Now it's got all of them instead of just the one. So now let's get out of object mode and we'll go to the skeleton again, see if that did anything. Yes, it did. See, much better. Much better. Why doesn't Blender just do that automatically? I don't know. One of the great mysteries of the universe. Look at that. That looks tremendous. All right, so now what we can do is go to object mode. Go ahead, delete 106. We really don't need him anymore. His work is done. And bam, here we go. We got the frickin' gorilla monkey. But as you can see, it doesn't really work that well, okay? Because his leg is down there and his whole like pelvis is moving with the bone. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this. Do not, I can't stress this enough, do not mess with the original 106 skeleton. Do not move any of these bones. Even if you want to move them just a tiny bit, I'm sorry, you cannot do it. It will mess up the QC file work that we have to do later. Just resist the urge. It's okay if it's not perfect and they don't line up perfectly, it's fine. Just do not move the bones of the reference skeleton. Trust me, it is not going to work out well for you unless you get really lucky. It can mess you up very bad even if you move it a little bit. With that being said, now comes the hard part. Weight painting. So if you're unaware, what a 3D model is essentially a bunch of polygons. If you click on edit mode here, you can see he's not like a single streamlined model. He is a bunch of shapes, basically, all carved into one awesome gorilla monkey. So these bones are all used to influence each of these models in order to create movement on them, or the illusion of movement in the model. So how is this done? Well, each no, fuck you, vertex paint. Each vertex, every single one of these is assigned a value that determines how much influence the movement of the bone has on each vertex. In Blender, the redder the vertex is, the more it will move with the model. So the redder it is, the heavier it is, and the more it will move. There's not really any way for me to help you along with this process. It's different a little bit for each model depending on where the legs are. It is pretty self-explanatory. I recommend opening up the reference model in another window. Just have him off in the corner down somewhere and look at what his model looks like and try and copy the new one, because Blender will never transfer the weights 100% of the time. It's just not good in doing that. But what you want to do is just try and paint the model to look like the reference model and make it make sense in Blender. Make the movement make sense when you go back to pose mode and you test it. Okay, see how this doesn't work, doesn't like move. That's because it's either weighted to this. Yeah, it is weighted to that. So you have to fix that up, otherwise your model is going to look all freaking like he's going to have Laffy Taffy arms and shit. It's just not going to look good. Now, I can't really help you through the process. It can take an entire day. Eventually you will get it though. You have to go for every single bone. I tried to use a simpler model which doesn't have as many bones as some others. It's very basic Gmod Half-Life 2 model skeleton that I used. So, but I can give you a couple tricks. Now, first one, when you go into edit mode, no, not on the skeleton, sorry. When you go into edit mode on the model, matter of fact, let me rename this real quick. Okay. Now, when you go into edit mode on the model, if you press the A button, it'll select every single vertex of the model, which can be helpful for when you want to, move the model around, even though it doesn't move the skeleton. That can come in handy for when you're doing certain things. But a nice trick I like to do is, check this out. Let's select his tooth here. Okay, now it'd be pretty annoying and time consuming for me to have to select all of these vertexes on the model if I want to move his tooth, okay? It can be annoying and time consuming. Here's a trick I learned. You can select a single mesh or multiple ones, doesn't matter, of a certain section of the model, and sometimes Blender will recognize that it's a single piece of the model. Not always, but it is sometimes helpful to try pressing Control L. See, now I can take his tooth off and he can have one less tooth if I want. So that can be helpful. Now, let's say you want to hide a part of the mesh to make weight painting easier. To do that, you just select whatever you want to hide, press H. Okay, now that is hidden. It comes back in object mode though. What can we do about that? Nothing. At least not that I know of. It only is hidden in object mode. But if we want to, it's okay to show up in object mode. It's the point I'm trying to make here is that hiding certain parts of the mesh can be very helpful when you're weight painting. But watch this. Check this out. Blender tries to make it difficult for us. I have it hidden here in edit mode, but when I go into weight paint mode, it's back again. Thank you so much, Blender. Don't worry, I have a fix for that. What we do here is you come up here to this box that says vertex selection. It says vertex selection masking. Masking means hiding. It's a fancy word for hiding because Blender wants to make itself seem smart. You just press this button and all these dots will show up that represent each vertex. Now let's go to the head. I don't know why the left clavicle is up there. That's weird. We'll go to the head model here, head weight here. Let's say I wanted to make this, for whatever reason, make this part of the mesh its weight 0. Okay, I want to click on it. Oh no, I can't click on it. What the hell, Blender? What's wrong with you? One more step you got to do. Press the A key to select all vertexes. And now I can paint the area that was previously hidden. So yes, thank you, Blender, making something so simple so difficult. And when you want to unhide something, you just press Alt-H and it'll come right back, and that's fine. Actually, I like to have vertex selection mode always on because it's just easier to see like where to paint exactly. So I recommend doing that. One more trick, I guess, is the paint through function. It is, do I have two left? Anyway, the paint through function, which could be useful when you're painting the spine of the model, because the spine is uniform, typically uniform all the way around the model. So if we, let's say right now, it's going to be, see how it's kind of uniform, it's kind of that green all around his body. So what we do here is you come up here to these two boxes here, paint through, and you just paint here a little. Hold on, won't that be a little heavier? We paint through here a little bit. Here, let me show you. If you paint down here, it'll show up on those booty cheeks on the other side of the mesh. So that can be very helpful when you're doing stuff with you know, if you're working on a difficult model with layers, which I do not recommend doing, by the way. Try to stay away from layers if it's your first time, because they really suck. Yeah, and that's basically it, man. You just got to go through and paint every single vertex accordingly. There's really no like catch-all thing I can give you, no epic tip or anything. You just got to do it, man. I mean, this is the only way I know how to make a Garry's Mod player model, unfortunately. This is the only way I've been taught how to do it, and the only way I can find on the internet. So I can't really help you with that part, unfortunately. I can help you with all the other stuff, but yeah, this is it, man. This is the tough part. This is where all the work goes into, is weight painting. So I'll be back in like maybe a day or two. Okay, so now that we have our Gorilla Monke working how we want him to in Blender, okay, he moves around quite a bit better. He's much improved from before. We are ready for the recompilation process. But let's say that you want to add something to your model, like a hat or something cool like that. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that here real quick. So what you do is, I'm going to import a model that I also got from the workshop to make him the crown monkey. So I don't know what that error message is. I don't know what that error message was. It's hilarious that Blender will show an error message for like half a second. Anyway, regardless, here we go. Here's this crown I have, okay? You can have whatever you want on... what the fuck? You can have whatever you want for your model. You can be a crown, a freaking bulletproof vest, I don't know. But here's how you can put a model onto another one, like, and use it as a shits. So here we go. Let me try and fucking put this stupid crown on his head. Damn. Trying to avoid it like going through his head. I don't even know if it's possible. Hang on, you can scale stuff on axes. So you press S and X at the same time, you can scale it like to make it thinner. I might do the trick here actually. Okay, that looks good. So now that we have that ready, now here's the issue though. If you move the skeleton of the monkey gorilla, the crown stays in place. We don't want that. So what are we gonna do? Well, it's actually mostly the same process. You take the gorilla skeleton and you parent it to the crown by shift clicking. The skeleton must be orange or yellow and the object orange. You go Control P again and go ahead and say with empty groups. For right now, empty groups, automatic, doesn't matter. We're gonna be getting rid of them all anyway. So delete all these, come down here to, actually stay like this. Go to weight paint mode, come down here to the gorilla. Control click on this. So you click this and then control click on Rilla. Come up here to transfer weights and go to by name. Now let's have a look, shall we? There we go. Now, it's all red. It's nice and heavy for the head, which is what we want. Now let's have a look. Check this out. Ta-da! Now it moves with his head. So let me make sure. Okay, yeah, everything seems to be in working order in that regard. So, let me fix this one. Okay, so there we go. Now we have our new object parented to our monkey model. But what we want to do is, we don't want it up here, because when we export it, it's not going to really show up in the scene. So this is actually rather simple, surprisingly. Probably one of the more simpler things in Blender. For the export procedure, you want to click this and just drag it down to here, so it shows up under the skeleton. Okay, go ahead, delete the collection, we don't need that. So now we are ready. Go ahead, click all, come over here to where it says scene properties, come open up source engine export. Now you're gonna want to, here, let me clear this real quick. So we can start over. Export path, you can just do whatever you want. I have mine set to finished shits on my desktop. You want to, this might be on DMX, you want to click it to SMD because that's what Garry's mod uses. Target up axis, go ahead, leave that at 0. Target engine, make sure that's source. Now for the engine path, what you got to do is go back to where you have Steam on your computer, Steam apps, common, where is it? Jerry's Jod. Come into the bin folder. So what you got to do is just double click the bin folder and then click accept. And apparently that's what works. So now we are ready. Go ahead, click the export button and export the project. Okay, so now that we've exported our SMD files, we have everything we need to make our recompile our model using Crowbar. So what we need to do is go back to where we decompiled the models from the workshop, and you want to click on the 106 folder and go into it, and you'll see the QC file. Okay, we're going to be using this because this is the skeleton we have in Blender. Actually, let me close out of this. We don't need to be in Blender anymore. So what you have to do is take your finished shits and move them over into this QC folder and delete the SMD for 106 because we're replacing him with Rilla. And now all we have to do, this is very simple, just go ahead and rename these assets. You're going to want to keep _physics because that's the way it recognizes physics files. So keep that, but get rid of every instance of 106 IG. Keep _anims as well. Now we have our Rilla. Okay, not quite done yet. Now what we have to do, if you have Notepad++, you can right click the Rilla QC file and click edit with Notepad++. Oh my goodness, what is this? Don't worry about it. If you didn't make any changes in the Blender file, all this stuff will still work because we didn't move the skeleton around or anything. We're just replacing the model. So it's the same deal here. Replace everything with the, actually I'm gonna change that. No, I need to make that Rilla. Anyway, yeah, replace every instance of 106 IG with, I'm gonna change this to Monke because T-Pang stands for Trepang and the Rilla is not from Trepang. Go ahead and change every single instance of 106 IG in this file as well, because as mentioned earlier, we are replacing the 106 template model. So go ahead, Rilla. I believe there's about should be 4 or 5 instances in each QC file. So there we go. Don't worry about all that stuff. I know it's scary. Don't worry about it. It's all good. So now we can use, actually, wait, I forgot to tell you. So you see this, we actually have 2 SMD files in here. And you see this thing where it says body group body. Well, what I wanted to show you is that you can have multiple body groups for your character. So I'm going to put a body group and call it crown because I don't want him to always be wearing this stupid crown. So what we do here is put crown.smd, and Now, if I were to compile it now, it would show up as the crown is always on the gorilla model, and you wouldn't be able to turn it off. So if I want to turn it off, I need to put in a blank slot. This way, if you go in game, you'll be able to turn it on and off and toggle it, which I always prefer. I think you should do that with all your body groups. Actually, probably not. Some of them you do want them to show up, but regardless, you'll see how it works in game. So now, we are ready to compile. Now to do this, you come up here to the top of Crowbar, click on Compile. Go ahead, copy my settings here. Do not click that, we don't need it. Garry's mod, you know the drill. Now for this, I already have a work folder set up called Compiled on my desktop again. This is just where the compiled model will be spit out to. But for the input, you can just drag and drop it on here and it'll figure it out. So go ahead and click Compile and it will begin to compile the model. Now sometimes you might get an error here. I didn't get any, but sometimes it'll tell you an error saying, you know, it can't find a certain model, which might mean that you don't have it in the folder here, or you didn't get rid of a specific instance of 106 IG. So go ahead and check through the QC file whenever you get an error like that. Another error you might get is one about too many vertices if you're working with very complex models, which I don't recommend you do for your first time. But if you are doing that, you actually have to go back and do some Blender work to reduce the amount of vertices in your model, because Garry's mod is very old and it can't handle highly complex models. But it's usually pretty easy. All you have to do is merge the vertexes, which you can look up like a 4-minute guide, 2-minute guide on how to do that. You might also get, I believe it's an exception 1 something. It's like exception 1 type error. For that one, you also have to, you might have to use the decimate modifier for that one, because that means you have way too many faces in your model, which is slightly different from vertices somehow. I don't really know how. But if you ever get some type of error that says something like exception 1, your model is way too complex and you just need to reduce it a little bit. So that being said, we now have our MDL file in here. So models, Monke, player M, and there you go, Rilla. And here's the other stuff that's all required for the MDL model to work. Now what we want to do is go back into where we decompiled it first. Go ahead and copy this 106 folder, paste it into here on your desktop again, and rename it to Gorilla. Now delete the models folder because we're going to be replacing it with this one. There you go. Now materials, okay, skip that one for now. Materials is a little bit trickier. We're going to go into our Lua folder here and rename this instance of 106 again. So we're going to go with, I always call it Villa.lua. Now, when you open this one with Notepad, you're going to be greeted with this. Now, it's the same deal. I'm going to call him Gorilla. How about just Lord fucking Epic Gorilla. Call him Epic Gorilla. It's the same deal. Replace every instance of 106 with Epic Gorilla. And there you go. Delete this one down here. That's a double. That's 2 models there. Don't worry about that. So here we go. We got Epic Gorilla. Replace this, because if you remember in the QC file, the file wasn't set up like this. I'll try and put a picture of it on the screen down in the bottom left corner. You got to replace it so that it reflects the true file directory you have set up in your shits. So go ahead and change that to, I have mine set to Monke because there's no monkeys in Trepang. So, and then Rilla, and you'll see down here it says Rilla arms. Don't worry, we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, now we work on the textures. See here, materials, models, delete that. We'll change this to Voila. And we click on this. We got a few models in here that we don't need right now because we already have the textures from the Rilla model that we decompiled. So you go in here, materials, and we already have our Gorilla VTFs and VMFs, which is the things that you these just specify like where VMF material folder files specify where the texture image is. So if you open up VTF Edit, which is another intuitive application that you can install, you'll open it and it'll show you the fucking creepy ass unwrapped gorilla texture. It's don't worry about any of this stuff. This is all already done for us, but let me show you. If you do want to make your own texture, you would select import right here, and you would import whatever image you want, anything you want, any of this stuff. You can go pick whatever you want. If you want to import an animated texture, what you would do is you would find a GIF. So make a GIF folder of whatever you want, and then you need to split that GIF up into separate frames and drag and drop them, or import them, sorry, into the VTF file. And when that happens, you'll be prompted with a few settings. You have to set everything to animated, and when it eventually, I'm not going to do it here because it takes a long time, but when it eventually does show up, and you'll notice it won't be playing, but that's fine because you can just click the play button over here and it'll play. And if you did it correctly, it should show up as a GIF in here. And as long as it isn't too large, it should also show up as an animated texture in game. So yeah, VTF Edit's pretty easy, but we're not going to be making any changes with that right now. So now the VMF file, this one's also very easy. This one doesn't have any normal map or anything, which is a special detail bump map texture word shit. And for here, it's the same drill. You just got to change it. Okay, sorry about that. I made a bunch of mistakes. Basically, you want your VMF files to look like this. They need to match the QC file directory that you have set up earlier as well. So let me find it here real quick. So it says models Rilla, which means the textures will be in the Rilla folder. And you go over here and you look at the VMT. It needs to match each each freaking, what the fuck, man, this is bullshit. Yeah, you need it to match the fucking texture directory that you have set up. So basically you want it to look like this, and match what you have set up in the QC file. Now, with that being said, we're done, and we can now put the folder that we have in the Garry's Mod add-ons folder. God, I hope this works. Copy and paste it in the add-ons folder. Go ahead, start Steam again. Click play. Okay, and here we go. We now have our gorilla model in game. Textures all work good. He's moving around decently. Sorry about that thing in the middle of my screen. It's just the cursor visualizer that I downloaded. And here we go. We're basically done. But if you'll notice, hey, didn't I put a crown on him earlier? Yes, I did. Now, if I want to turn that on, I open up my Playermodel selector. I come over here to Bodygroups, and you can just tweak the crown on and off as you please. Now, you will need to commit suicide for it to show up, so let me do that real quick. I respawn. Where am I? Okay, here I am. Now I've got the crown on. Okay, everything's done. Now, if you'll notice, when I go into first person, there's an error floating above my head, and there's no hands gripping the gun. Well, if you want to get hands for your model, let me show you how to do that real quick. Now, if we want to make a arms, if we want to have the first person view model show up in game, All we need is the arms, because the way source works is that it doesn't really render your whole body in first person, because it would be tough to make the animations match up with the to make them not look stupid in first person and like have the camera, like, you know, it's just a trick that Gmod uses. So we're gonna come up here and click save as. I'm just gonna call it Rilla Arms. We're down here. How the fuck do you spell arms? Arms, Rilla Arms. That's why it was weird. Okay, Rilla Arms. You go click save as, and now I'm gonna delete the crown because we won't be needing it. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna click the Monke. Actually rename everything here to Rilla Arms as well. This is why I like this skeleton, because we do not need a new we don't need a new skeleton for the arms, because the 106 folder model that I use has the same skeleton for the body that it does for the arms, which saves us a ton of time in the long run. So what we do is you click the Monke, go into edit mode. Okay, you select, that looks creepy. So we go into edit mode, we're gonna lasso select everything except the arms. So you press Control left click and you're gonna try and get about up to the shoulders. So select here, select it like this. Oh, I messed up, hold on. Before we do that, come up here to where it says toggle X-ray. So go ahead, click that, it's gonna, you'll be able to see through it. And now you lasso select, try and keep as much of the shoulders as you can, and you come through here, select as much as you can. Now that part is selected, you press delete vertices, and there you go. Okay, I'm going to clean these parts up here a little bit because we don't really need them. And now we have our C arms. Obviously you can put more time and effort into making it look better, but I don't care because I play on, you know, an FOV of 80, so it's not like I can see behind me. But I always liked, here's another thing I like to do. I always like to clear out the spine weights on here, because I don't know, they just make it like, they just don't function as well. Why isn't this painting? Oh, I have to press A. They just kind of mess it up a little bit. The having weights on the spine for like the first person view models, I don't know why. Sometimes it'll mess up the animations, at least like the base Half-Life 2 animations, that is. So I always clear these out. And come on, man, fucking get rid of them. Now, for me, I always like to make sure the whole edge of the mesh here has a weight of 0.4. I don't know why, it's just a thing I do and it works okay for me, so I might as well share it with you guys. So go ahead, make sure the whole edge of it is green to make sure you're not missing any vertices with weight, because if you don't weight the vertice at all, it won't move and it'll it'll fuck up. So now we're done with this. It's the same process. You export it. It's going to show up as rillaarms.smd. Okay, 0.3 seconds. That was quick. You come over here to finished shits, open that, and now what we want to do is we want to go back to where we decompiled 106 and go back into the models folder. Come back in here. Am I recording? Okay, I'm just making sure I'm recording. Come into here and you'll see it says PS106 arms. This is an arms folder, or not folder, model that we are going to use as another template. So we'll call this 106 arms. We'll decompile him in here, and we will click go ahead, leave copy all my settings, leave that, and we'll decompile him in there. Now we have his MDF, now we have his QC in here. What the fuck? Oh, I messed up. I didn't drag and drop the 106 arms thing. That was a mistake. You go here. I must have. Okay, just drag and drop it. Just drag and drop it. You come here, 106 models, 106 arms.mdl. Here we go. Drag and drop this in here, and we can decompile. Actually, let me make sure. God damn it, sorry, my bad. You come into here, you click 106 arms, delete the crown, don't need that shit anymore, and you decompile the arms. There we go, now we have the glorious QC file for the arms. Take this, go in here, copy this, put it on the desktop, rename it to Voila arms, go into it, and we have our QC file. Go ahead and delete the template file that we have in here, PS106 arms, bye-bye, and move our Rilla arms into it. It's the same deal. Come in here, replace every instance of Rilla arms. Actually, so let me check my Lua file because, I mean, I could have just edited this later, but let me make sure. Yeah, it is called Rilla arms. You need the QC file to match up. The MDL file needs to match up with what the model you have named in here is. So we're gonna go here, Rilla arms, leave that for right now. Make sure this, keep it underscore anims, we need that. Go in here, edit with Notepad++. Rilla arms, Monke. Rilla arms, okay, same thing going on here. Rilla arms, don't worry about it, scary numbers, they're not gonna hurt you. Rilla arms, there we go. Now we're all done with that. Same thing with Crowbar. We are going to compile this. So go ahead and put this in the compile section of Crowbar, compile it. See, it's way quicker for the arms because it's a lot smaller. Come into models, Monke, Player M, and we have the Rilla arms MDL file. All we got to do now is drag and drop that into the models folder with the Rilla model. Now, delete that, delete, keep that, go ahead. Come back into the Steam apps where you have that stored on your computer. Go back into the add-ons folder, delete this, and replace it with the Gorilla model. So, or Gorilla folder. Now we go back into Garry's mod and let's test it. And there we go. See, we now have our Gorilla Monkey arms showing up. You see them on the corner. We can use the hand looker tool. Obviously they're not going to be perfect, at least on my thing, because it's a freaking gorilla set over top the model of a man, but